Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Lisa and Live. Today we are on the third episode of my series The Unheard, where we have conversations with people suffering from chronic illnesses and mental health issues, but also people who treat them. So today we're with Beth. Hi Beth.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
So where are you? Where can you introduce yourself a little bit and tell us, where you live and everything, what you do?
Yep, so I live in Adelaide, South Australia. I'm 35 and I work as a park ranger, which is pretty fun. I also rescue and hand raise native animals in my free time, which can keep me pretty busy.
At home?
And yes, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yay. What do you have? What animals do you have?
Well, I have my baby who's always with me, a cockatoo called Cora, who's very
Oh,
cheeky. I've had to close the door so he doesn't make too much noise. He could be doing anything from laughing to singing to swearing, so I didn't want that to interrupt the session. And at the moment, I just have some rescue baby musk lorikeets that got knocked out of the nest. So I've got a mostly empty nest at the moment, but you never know what's going to happen.
oh, really cute. That must be really nice. I love animals too. I have four cats. So
Oh,
I
wow.
yeah, they're really, really cute and we love them so much. Yeah, I understand that. So so you when did you start working as a park ranger?
So I started as a park ranger at 19 as a kind of a traineeship, and then slowly worked my way up and took some time in between to study and get my degree while I was working as a kind of environmental advisor as well while I did my degree, and then went back to rangering because being in the office all the time is not for me.
Yeah. So what pushed you to do this with me? What interested you in this in participating in the series?
Well, I guess like over the years, I've had lots of different struggles. And what has helped me the most is hearing the struggles of other people and being able to relate to that and see how they've, coped and gotten through things. And, you can share that, I guess, like common trauma.
Yeah.
It makes you feel less alone. And it sometimes when you see somebody succeeding and, pushing through stuff, it can give you a bit of hope and also different perspectives and experiences, and all of that I think is just really important to the healing journey.
Yeah.
um
So this is why I wanted to do this series because I thought, if I can bring something to the conversation and maybe help some people, as you said, that are going to watch, that are suffering too, but also help people who don't know about the illnesses understand them and maybe help,
yeah,
support the research, that would be great. So,
well, pretty much what happened to me is I was hit by a car while riding my bike home, like bicycle.
okay.
And thankfully I didn't have major, like I didn't really break anything. It was all soft tissue damage.
Mm-hmm.
So I was quite lucky in some ways. But then after like a few months, I realized I'm not getting better. Like I feel like I'm getting worse, much, much worse. And it started happening quite rapidly where I got to the point that just everything was like I was just in an immense amount of pain everywhere. And it was just getting worse and worse. And my fatigue was really bad. Like I would get up and have a shower, and the effort of doing that would like send me back to bed for 2 days. I
Okay.
was in so much pain and just so exhausted. So I couldn't really do much, and I had a lot of cognitive issues, which turns out was yeah, from the accident. So there were days where somebody go to introduce myself to somebody and I would forget what my name was,
Yeah, yeah,
or driving my car and I forgot what a car even was.
yeah.
Um, like I just remember looking at the steering wheel and the gear stick and going, I think I meant to do something with these, but I don't know what. So that was quite scary. So yeah, I had massive cognitive issues. But yeah, the pain was just like unbearable. And it spread to not just where I was injured in the crash, but all over, and all different types of pain as well, like searing, burning, stabbing, like just everything. So I was going back to the doctors and not taking me seriously, which I'm used to because I've experienced that many times before as a woman in the medical, as a patient, you're
Yeah,
not always taken very seriously by
yeah,
male doctors.
yeah,
So it took a while, and I did a lot of my own research and went, well, I think this is it. And so I went to a GP and went, look, just give me a referral to a rheumatologist. Is that what
yeah,
they're called? God,
yeah.
you see my brains. um, and yeah, they diagnosed me. And pretty much what I was told to do was to diet and do paced exercise, which we know is absolutely not, like, doing exercise does not help.
So when you were so you were diagnosed when you were diagnosed with CFS, then with ME/CFS.
Yeah.
And so after that in Australia, do they send you to a specialized clinic or a specialized doctor, someone who's going to really manage that pathology? Or
No, I was never sent anywhere. I had asked a doctor about seeing, like, there's pain clinics, pain
yeah,
specialists, but they didn't give me a referral.
okay,
So yeah, I never really got much help. And I just gave up. I've had a lot of instances throughout my life where I haven't been taken seriously by medical professionals. So I just kind of gave up and did a lot of my own research, and tried things my own way. And I came up with my own theories of why my body had decided to do this to me.
yeah,
Um,
that
so,
it's that's a point. I touched upon that with Irene in the first episode, where we went down that avenue of it. Not that it is uh how do you say, not symptomatic, but it's I believe that the mind and the body are really connected, and that
mm,
everything that you experience leaves a mark, positive or negative. And
yeah,
I think that everything that happens with your mindset, because we know that, for example, stress and pressure that you're experiencing, psychologically and mentally, also ends up having some effect on the biology. So I really believe that what we experience, and often so traumas that we experience, if we don't
yes,
treat those traumas, then the body ends up treating them in one way or another. So
yeah,
it's not because I believe that all of the people in the entire world that are sick with chronic illnesses um, are sick because they experienced, severe trauma or something. It's just that I think that for some people, there can be a real correlation between, the mind and the body, and that it is also a way for the body to shut down after, maybe some experiences. So I don't know if you can relate to that, if you have thought about what happened in your life before you were diagnosed and how that maybe led up to this situation.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, especially with fibro and
Yep.
CFS/ME. I've met quite a few, mostly women,
Yep.
that have all been through trauma, usually sexual trauma.
Yep.
I've noticed is a really big
Yep.
correlation between the two.
Yep.
So, yeah, and that's definitely something I relate to that I've been through. And I think with the car accident, my body just went enough, like
Yep.
too much. And it just, you know, your body produces pain to try and protect itself,
Yep.
to go, this bit hurts. And when you've been through all of that trauma, your body just goes, it hurts, it all hurts, protect itself. Yeah, I've had, yeah, quite a few things from my teen years leading up to that point. And I think it was just, yeah, such a intensely traumatic moment and experience that my body just and my brain just broke. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I can that's why I was saying this, a little bit as a disclaimer. It's not really that that it's not the same for everyone, because I think that's also, I mean, if you have like a, I don't know, I've seen instances where there are kids that are 15, 16 years old that have, a very healthy family life and that go to school and, have their teen years that are really uh really positive and healthy, and then suddenly they end up bedbound with these types of illnesses. So I don't think that it's the same for everyone, but
No.
still I do believe that there is a really strong correlation between how you're feeling and what your how your brain functions and what your body is telling you. So have you have you been um have you ever been to see a therapist, or no?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
Many.
okay. And so had you already been to therapy before the car crash?
Yeah, so I think I was 14 when my parents forced me into therapy because I was completely off the rails, and they didn't know what to do with me. I think they were quite worried, but
Yeah.
yeah, didn't know how to manage it or get through to me. So they forced me into therapy for, I think it was about 2 years. And honestly, because I wasn't ready to open up about what I was going through, it just honestly made it worse and
Yeah.
ended up being quite traumatic for me. And eventually my parents picked up on that and they tried medicating me, and that didn't work. So after a couple of years, they gave up on that. And then when I was 18, I was in year 12 high school, and I barely went to high school. And I just didn't know what to do or how to cope with it. And because when you're in high school, they pump you full of this, like you've got to finish high school so you can go to uni and get a job. Otherwise, your
Yeah.
life
Yeah.
is over. Your life will be meaningless. Which I don't agree with, but it took me a long time to realize that. And
Yeah.
so I decided to go see a therapist to see how I could make it through school. And after 2 sessions, she kind of confirmed what I had been feeling was that, I don't have to do school to do what I want and to succeed. And
Yep.
so I had 2 sessions and then walked in and told my parents, like, oh, I'm quitting high school. And they were like, that's not what we wanted from that, but okay. And that's when I started doing traineeships and stuff like in the environment.
You've been talking about this journey with therapy, but you didn't really say if you ever discussed the childhood trauma you went through.
So I have at the moment, it's taken years. But after another incident, I guess, occurred, and it brought up everything that I'd been
Yeah.
repressing from the past.
Yeah.
I sought out good therapists, mostly a psychiatrist. So I'm probably the most stable that I have been, like,
Now.
ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So about um about the CFS, so you didn't get any um how should I say, like any treatment or anything, not even something herbal from the doctor? Did you only try to find your own way through it and how you could treat yourself through maybe supplements or things like that?
yeah, so I did my own research. I have quite a science-based brain, and I eventually did a science degree.
Okay.
So, I would research academic papers and stuff to find things that would work. And after getting CFS, my immune system was terrible. Everything, like, I'd get the flu and it lasted 2.5 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I was getting really sick. And then I got tonsillitis 7 times in 1 year.
Oh my
And like,
goodness.
it got to
Yeah.
the point where I'd stopped taking antibiotics, and within 24 hours it was back. And so the last time, I think I went from a normal temperature of about 36.3 to 42.6 in 3 hours. And I
Oh
called my
wow.
dad and went, "We have to go to hospital now." And by the time they processed me, I was up to 43 degrees, which is when your cells start denaturing.
That you were
Um,
burning then, literally.
yeah. And they realized that it had gotten into my bloodstream and I was going septic. Um,
Oh my goodness.
and yeah, was extremely ill. And then I had to stay on antibiotics to up until I had to have emergency surgery to have them removed. But I was
Yep.
too sick, so I had to stay on antibiotics up until the surgery. Had the surgery, and then obviously I was still had the infection in me, and went septic again, and got so ill that got to the point I couldn't talk. The last 24 hours before going back to hospital, I was drooling into a bucket because I couldn't swallow my own spit.
Oh,
And yeah, was extremely ill. Like, at the time, I wasn't as big as I am now. And I lost, was it 30 kilos in 4 months?
oh my,
All my muscles wasted away. Like, I'd never felt so. I joked for many years that I was an honorary old person because I've had hip surgeries, and my back is fucked, and
oh,
um,
I really get that because I've from the time I was maybe 20-ish, I've only had like I've only fallen ill with things that only, 70, 80-year-olds get. So every
yeah.
time I go to the hospital, they're like, well, you're a bit young, aren't you? I'm like, yeah, well, it's been going on for 15 years now. I've only had like old people's, sickness. So yeah, I get that. I sometimes feel like inside I'm really old.
But yeah, this time I felt like really, really old. Like, I felt frail, and it
Yeah.
was quite scary. And so, and because I don't have an appendix anymore, I had to have it out a few years before that,
Yep.
which I know stores like your backup to your microbiome in your gut, which is essential for health. And so after taking that much antibiotics, I went, well, I have nothing really left in there. So I started eating to feed my microbiome. And I
Yeah.
had to actually, like, teach myself how to eat again, like even having half a banana and I was full, I wouldn't be able to eat for the rest of the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it took a lot to teach myself to eat again. Like, I looked at certain things, like nutrition wise with CFS before, but when you're that tired and stuff, it's really hard to make a nutritious meal for yourself. And I started like less than a year after I got hit by the car, I started my uni degree, which everyone told me I couldn't do, but I'm stubborn. So I was like, just watch me. I'm going to do it with distinctions. Thank you. So I didn't have a whole lot of energy. I was also really poor as a student. So I mostly was trying like supplements and those kind of things. But after being on that much antibiotics for such a long time, I went,
Yeah.
I have to do something to build up the biome in my gut again. So started eating like lots of fermented foods,
Mm-hmm.
cheeses, yogurts, like kombucha, all of that stuff. And I call it eating on the rainbow. So every meal I would try and have something, a food of like every different color
Oh, that's
because,
really
yeah, because all different like veggies and stuff will carry a different type of
yeah,
macro. But
because
no,
in nature color indicates the composition of things. So
yeah,
if you get different things, if you have a look at the color of food, then they do have different nutrients in them.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so that's what I tried to get myself healthy
Hmm.
again. And yeah, coming through that, I was the best that I'd ever, like, well, had been for years. I used to be quite athletic and did competitive swimming and competitive rowing. So yeah, getting quite sick and not really being able to do anything was it was a huge shift for me. But yeah, I started being able to do stuff again, and because I had no muscle left really, I started going to the gym. My sister, who was living in Adelaide then, like we'd go together, and she really helped me get through that and build up my muscle, and yeah, got like really fit, which I'm sadly not at this point in time. But like I still struggle. It's gotten worse the last few years. While dealing with unresolved trauma. Um, I haven't been looking after myself, and I know why I'm not doing so well, but
Yeah, you know it's
I,
related. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh, but that's what really made a big difference for me. So almost dying brought me back
Mhm.
to life in a way.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And I think it's also people often don't understand um how everything, your entire, whole person is affected by revisiting trauma and trying to go through therapy and, really going into that and trying to heal trauma, because it takes a lot out of you and it takes a lot of energy, and it takes, you have all these emotions that bubble back up. So it's really, it affects you in a whole, as a whole, I mean. And so it's really not easy to cope with everything when you're trying to do that. I mean, you shouldn't, um you should acknowledge that that is really important for you, and that you're going to come out on the other side with that being done, and then you can take care of yourself again, on
Yeah,
on a physical level, even if you're, also doing it now, but maybe in a more, intense way afterwards, because it's just, you can't have energy for everything. So you already, as you said, you already had mental health issues before that, and, related to other things. But once you were diagnosed, and that, you were there with that information, with now it's chronic illness, and there's no cure, and I don't know what to do. How did that play on your mental health?
Oh my goodness. Ooh, yeah. It was absolutely awful. Like even before that, I'd had what 3 hip surgeries. I'd broken my neck. I'd just like so many injuries and illnesses, which were awful to deal with. And just like being in pain, it takes so much out of you.
Hmm.
And so then to think that, well, one, there's another thing that's happened, which was traumatic. Feeling that I was never going to get better. There were many times where I almost ended things, like just in unimaginable amounts of pain and fatigue. And when you can't see a way out, there's no guarantee for a cure. Well, there was, when I, back in 2012, there was very little research or recognition of it. There's
Yeah,
more now, but still not enough.
yeah,
And yeah, there were just so many times that yeah, was very much almost not here. And then I also had injuries and illnesses throughout that period as well, separate from that. And every time it was just like another blow, like another thing, like how much can I take? Whew, yeah, it was, if I hadn't gotten a bit better, like I wouldn't be here. That's like no doubt.
yeah.
I mean, that's sorry.
No, no,
Um,
yeah, all good, all good.
there's still moments where being here is a real struggle to make the choice to stay.
Yeah,
But that
yeah,
period of my life is awful, and because nobody understands either. Um, Nobody gets it. It's much harder to obtain empathy for something that people can't see and can't understand. Like, I would fall over and I broke my wrist and my foot and everything, and got sympathy for that. When got sympathy after I got hit by a car, but when you have this ongoing chronic illness, you don't get sympathy. You don't really get empathy unless somebody's experienced it as well. People don't understand, and they don't really see how much you're suffering. You just have to try and push through. And people start seeing you as like a hypochondriac, or
yeah.
even my own brother made a comment about me just seeking
Attention.
medication, which was very hard to hear.
Yeah,
Um,
but
yeah,
I think I'm really sorry you had to go through all of that, and I really hope that even if those thoughts come back sometimes, because they do. I mean, I know how I feel sometimes about. I think that the worst thing is that I love life,
yeah,
and I really love life. I love my friends. I have 2 kids. They're great. I love my family. I love playing music, having fun, and I love life. But
yeah,
there are some times when you're in that hole that you catch yourself, having those thoughts, but it's not because you don't love life. It's because you're fed up, you're just tired. So I think you just want things to stop. You just want to stop being tired. You want to stop feeling bad. It's not about, not loving life and wanting to have a future. So I know that there are some times when those thoughts come back. I know how to deal with them now, because I think you never, and I think it's really quite hypocritical of everyone to not acknowledge that every human being has existential, crises. I mean, we all go through that because as human beings, we're the only species that is aware they're finite. So, I mean, we do have all of us. We have thoughts about death. We have thoughts about suicide. it's something that occurs for everyone, not at the same level and not in the same circumstances, but at some point, at one point or another, as human beings, we all think about our own demise. And we all think about, how it would be if we weren't here, and, how that would feel. And so I think it's quite hypocritical of everyone to only put this as a burden on people who have mental health issues, because I think as human beings we all think about that.
Yeah.
So it's not something, that is that should be considered as strange, or you shouldn't be considered as a different person because you can have suicidal thoughts or existential crises. And I think that this is also why I really want to advocate for conversations about mental health, and just having, so everyone can just understand that we're all the same in some ways, and that we all have those thoughts, and we
Yeah.
all try to get, through life. I wanted to touch upon Ren a bit, because we met through the Patreon.
Yes.
And so I know that you're a renegade. There's no secret there. And
Yes.
and so I wanted to know what your story is with Ren, and how you came to know about him, and how you came to be on the Patreon and everything.
Well, I've heard lots of people say that Ren comes to you when you need him,
Oh, so
and
much. Yeah. Yep.
he came to me when I needed him. It was last year, beginning of last year. I was actually in a mental health hospital,
Okay.
and I'd taken up smoking again, because what else are you going to do on a psych ward?
Yes, exactly.
um, and I was sitting outside, and there was a guy that was always there with headphones on. And so I asked him, like, what are you listening to? And he's like, oh, Ren. I'm like, because I listen to a lot of different music. I was like, oh, I never heard of him. Like, what kind of music does he do? And he's like, oh, well, you're just going to have to listen.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
such
he
a
took out
difficult
his
question
phone.
to answer.
I'll
Yeah.
play you. I'll play you one of his clips. And of course, it was Hi Ren.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
And yeah, I just was taken up, like, gobsmacked, by the song
Yeah.
and how much it spoke to me. And so I very quickly went down the rabbit hole. Yeah, but his music has helped me immensely. It's obviously a lot speaks to mental and physical health, and yeah, it definitely makes you feel less alone.
So yeah, I don't know what your experience is, if you've connected on a more personal level with some of the people on the groups.
Yeah, I definitely have. I've had, yeah, some very good, like, very intimate conversations with a few people, and yes, swapping stories and going, wow, like, you've experienced this, I've experienced this, or there's because I'm diagnosed with complex PTSD,
Hmm.
major depressive disorder, and ADHD, and finding people with all of those things and going, oh, does your brain do this? Does it do this? Oh, how's
Yeah. Yep.
how do you cope when this happens? Or when, yeah, also getting tips about how to deal with when you're having a flashback, or when your brain, just because ADHD, depression, and PTSD make a really fun mix
Oh, I know
of
about that one. Yeah.
not being able to do things.
Yep. Yeah, it's really fun sometimes. Yep. Uh-huh.
Especially the depression and the ADHD, you have, like, the anxiety of, like, I need to do a thing, but just not being able to do it, and then you get depressed about it, then you start getting anxious that you haven't done it, and it just goes round,
Oh,
and
yeah,
you
yeah.
can talk to people and laugh about it. That's the best thing, is being able to laugh
Yeah, yeah.
about
I think
the
so too, because sometimes it just I just catch myself, sometimes you're hyper aware of what's happening in your brain and you're like, this is so stupid. Why am I doing this, and why am I functioning this way? And it's just, yeah, and it's really nice to have people who just who just get you, who just understand exactly when you're talking about some instance that happened in the day, and that's the other one goes, oh yeah, same for me. So it's, yeah, that's really nice to be able to connect in that way. Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's not
yeah.
it's not really easy, and it's not every day that you find people that are exactly on the same level. Yeah,
Or people have told, like, yeah, I get called lazy, like, because, I'm lucky that I can work now, but it takes a lot out of me. So, and also really struggling with depression as well.
yeah,
Like, most days I go to work, I come home and I'm on the couch and I can't really do
yeah,
much,
yeah,
and
yeah,
I miss more days of work than I should. And some days when I've had like a few really physical days at work, I'll just crash and I'll have to sleep all day. And people view, like, I get worried that I'm viewed as a bad worker for taking days off. But it's just not something that's really understood. And yeah, I get worried about being seen as a liability. Like, I'm not up to the role. I already have had to disclose my mental health
mhm,
issues, which was very hard,
mhm,
very confronting, because we actually use firearms. And I was, like, sectioned and admitted to hospital, and the police called my workplace and went, you have to hide access to the guns. And that's when I couldn't hide that any longer,
yeah, yeah,
which was extremely distressing.
yeah.
So putting this on top of it, I just go, oh, I couldn't, yeah, you just have to hide that part of yourself and push through. Yeah.
Every time I have disclosed something, some struggle I went through, or something really personal, usually 99% of the time people are going to feel empathy and want to help. And so I think it's the moment you overcome the shame and you let go of the false responsibility you have in things, then that's the moment where it's easier sometimes to talk and to see that people actually want to be there for you.
Yeah.
So I really hope that's going to be the case for you too, and that you're going to feel a little more at ease, at work. And because I suppose that you do like your job and you do like what you do, and you want to
Yeah,
continue as long
definitely.
as you can. So yeah. What are the things that you have learned from your life that you apply to yourself now and that you want to pass on? And maybe if you have any message of hope for people watching, is there anything you would want to pass on as a positive message?
Um, well, I guess if you're struggling with physical or mental illness, like, the biggest, most important thing you can do is seek help. And if you're not getting what you think you need out of that, like, advocate for yourself. Um, Something that I had to learn how to do. It's really important. Like, advocate for yourself, share with trusted people, get them to advocate for you. Like, if you can, have a community around you, because it
Mhm.
makes it so much easier.
Mm,
But I think the biggest thing, and I'm still working on it, still very much working on it, but having compassion for yourself, learning to forgive yourself and recognizing that, things aren't your fault. Um, like, hold, like, compassion, give yourself a hug. Um, Whatever you've been through, whatever you're going through, it's not your fault. And, like, I try to frame it as talking to like the little girl that I once was, and talk to yourself like you would that little girl or boy or whatever you identify as.
Mm.
Hold that little person, be compassionate, and take care of them. How you want a small child to be taken care of. I'm still learning how to do that myself, and I'm still trying to practice and learn gratitude. I think is really important too,
Yeah.
acknowledging the good things. I'm trying to get better at at the end of each day, writing 3 things I'm grateful for. And even if they're small things, like I'm
Yep.
really grateful for the amazing coffee I had this morning.
Yeah.
It's a positive thing, and just reflect on that, and it does help reframe your brain, really. That's, the 2 things, compassion and gratitude. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Beth. That's really beautiful. And thank you for this conversation, everything you shared, because I know it's hard to do, and it's quite confronting to be on camera talking about such personal things in your life. But I'm really so grateful that you did, and that we could, meet and make this episode together. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching this episode of The Unheard. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to get more of that. And check out the description of the video and the links in my bio to see how you can help with the research. See you soon.